Hello, BookTube. I went out this morning. I have an old friend who runs a church in Boston, and I've fallen into the habit of visiting when I can. So I went, despite the ravages of the Delta variant that is currently running rampant in the United States because 150 million people in this country are insane. 150 million people, more people than are in most countries, are insane in this country. I took the proper precautions, and I went because my friend used to run a charity sale for his church, where he would get donations of all kinds, clothes, toys, board games, and books, huge numbers of books. And he hasn't had a charity drive in a while. His parishioners are fairly old, and he's just not comfortable. I don't think the diocese is comfortable with him having that kind of an event in a closed space. So he hasn't really done that, but the donations have continued, and including the books. I went just recently to the basement there. He said, take whatever you want. Look through all these. I don't want them. I have no use for them, so, feel free. And that offer still stands. He said, I've been getting more and more books. I can't think of anything else to do. We're going to come up with something to do. I think I know what I want to do. It is possible to make the church money off these things in a way the parishioners will like. That is entirely possible to do. It just requires somebody to do it. And I think I'm that somebody, so we'll see. I've told him many times that I should drop something in the offertory. I shouldn't just come in and take what I want and then walk out. He insists on saying that he owes it to me. And I don't get that. It's been this way for years. He always comes up with a new reason why the church owes it to me. The church does not owe anything to me. His reason these days is because he had a parishioner a few weeks ago. I did her a favor. I don't know her very well. I mainly know her through stories that he tells me, but I did her a favor. That's all. It was nothing. It was $100 in cash. She needed it on a fixed income, can't get out much, and at the time I had it extra. That's all there is to it. There wasn't the smallest scrap of sentimentality or guilt or wheedling or anything like that. There wasn't the smallest hint of anything like that. I looked her in the face and said, I've got it extra, and you need it. And if our positions were reversed, you wouldn't hesitate. If our positions were reversed and you were in the exact same position, you wouldn't hesitate. I've said that to all of you for years. You wouldn't hesitate. So what grounds do I have to hesitate? None at all. In my mind, maybe for a fraction of a second, I might have had the same reaction that everybody does. Maybe you'll need that money down the line. And then I heard voices. I heard BookTube voices yelling, laughing at me in my head, saying, what are you going to need it for? 10-year-old Chromebook? Anyway, it was nothing. It was no big deal. But my friend got wind of it, and that's the example that he brought up today. Say, no, it's on the house. Take what you want. Unfortunately, today, I've mentioned in the past, the last few times I've been there, he has a new sacristan, a new assistant at the church. And the last few times I've been there, he has given his sacristan to me as a sort of dog's body to lug books back to Hyde Cottage. That has been great fun. I am getting to know that young man. He wasn't available today, so I knew that whatever I was picking, I'd have to carry on my own. And that might account for the prevalence of paperbacks here. I don't know. I still felt like I was lugging the Rock of Gibraltar in surprisingly warm weather. It's warmer than the forecasts are saying that it is. The Boston weather media is saying that it's in the mid-70s, and it is not. Just factually is not. It just factually is not. It's in the mid to upper 80s, and it's going to get worse as the week goes on. Wednesday, it's going to be 90 in September in Boston. I managed, however. I managed, and I want to show you. I got a pile of things, and I want to show you, especially since there are quite a few BookTube angles involved here, or mainly one BookTube angle. But the first one is definitely a BookTube angle. I mentioned a while ago that I love the Bantam, Forever and Ever. In fact, I think they still make it. Forever and Ever Bantam did a 2-volume mass-market paperback of the complete Arthur Conan Doyle Sherlock Holmes stories, Volume 1 and Volume 2, with introductions by Lauren Essam. And I had those volumes once upon a time, bought them at the bookstore where I worked, read them till they fell apart, loved having the companionship of them, and then I got rid of them. I have multiple collected Sherlock Holmes stories and multiple individual volumes of Sherlock Holmes. So I didn't think anything of it. But then I thought, well, you do like having those. And the other day, or a month ago, or 2 months ago, or whenever it was, one of you will be able to spot the video. A while ago, I found volume 2 of that 2-volume mass market paperback set. And I think I found it at the Brattle, and I thought, well, the Brattle will provide. If I find volume 2, I'll find volume 1 eventually. But today, in the boxes in the basement, I found both volumes of those old Bantam Sherlock Holmes. So I grabbed them. I brought them, even though this one has seen better days. Those are dog teeth. That is not Frida. Those are dog teeth. And this is, it's chewed up a little on the pages, and there's a point where the spine is almost cracking. I can reinforce the daylights out of this. This is most of the short stories, and then this has the novels. This is in perfect condition, but it's the volume 2 that I found at the Brattle. This is the one I was looking for. I will reinforce the daylights out of this just to have it, and maybe it'll be great as a BookTube-influenced reading copy. I mentioned yesterday, Jason Harrigan used to have a BookTube channel. He's a book collector, and he would often toss off that terminology, the reading copy, something that you just batter around, stuff in your bag and whatnot. It's not the pristine copy that you're keeping on your shelf, and it's not the classic line along this way of thinking was that a dyed-in-the-wool bibliophile has to have 3 copies of every book: a reading copy, a pristine copy, and a lending copy. It's not quite that bad, but I now have these as reading copies. And they're not underlined or highlighted in any way, so I think reinforcing them ought to be enough. This next one is a trade paperback. This came out, I think, right before I was reviewing books. No, this came out in 2009. So maybe I just wasn't reviewing books widely. Otherwise, I would certainly have reviewed this. This is Elizabeth Kelly's debut novel, Apologize, Apologize! And it's a coming-of-age story about a young man named Collie in an eccentric, very wealthy family that spends a lot of time on Martha's Vineyard. So I don't know who reviewed this for the Vineyard Gazette. It was before I was in touch with them. Somebody must have reviewed this for the Vineyard Gazette, the broadsheet newspaper on the island of Martha's Vineyard, where I am the book reviewer. If this came out now, I would certainly beg and plead to review it. I would beg and plead my editor to review it. I love this book. Thought it was terrific. Everything that contemporary fiction is not. I think it ranked really highly in that year's Steve Reed's year-end list of the best and worst fiction and nonfiction published in that year. The Steve Reed's list is slowly but surely galloping towards you, even as we speak. December, the first 15 or 16 days of December, will unfold the only authoritative year-end list of books for 2020. But I haven't read this in, over 10 years. So I will gladly read it again, especially since it was free. Then this next one is not Martha's Vineyard, which is an island off the coast of Massachusetts. This is a different island off the coast of Massachusetts. This is away offshore. Nathaniel Philbrick, the author of The Heart of the Sea, In the Heart of the Sea, writing about Nantucket, the other island off the coast of Massachusetts. There are plenty of islands off the coast of Massachusetts, but there are 2 that are famous. The near one and the larger one is Martha's Vineyard, where I have spent many, 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 many days and weeks and seasons in the company of many people, with many bell-bottoms and many afros and many shag carpets with many dogs. But I have also spent a huge amount of time on Nantucket as well. Nantucket is further out. It's smaller. It's less inhabited, and for a long time it was a lot rougher. You can get to the vineyard in a quick 30-minute ferry. You get on the ferry, you've no sooner had a snack and sat down than you're ready to get up and get off the ferry. The Nantucket is further out, and for a long time, including times when I have known it, it basically shut down in the winter. There were people who stayed on island over the winter, but it was hard to do. Not everything was winterized. Hardly anything was. There were often everyone would congregate in one particular place to have their meals. A lot of that Nantucket is going to be captured in this book. I read this when it was first reissued. Oh, this thing has been read and loved. It's floppy with use. This came out in 1994, but it was reissued in 2011, and I read it then. and loved it. And I've always kicked myself. When I go into retail bookstores and see this, I kick myself thinking, why did you get rid of that? I got it probably in the mail in 2011. And now I found it again for free, and this time I will be keeping it. Freedom. Stop slurping. Stop slurping. No, not me. Don't slurp me. Don't slurp you. Don't slurp anything. Just stop slurping. Then these next three are Penguin Classic Deluxe editions. Bet you thought Noah, and everyone who reads it must converse, is the only person who could roll into some sort of ratty gift shop or thrift shop and come out with Penguin Classic Deluxe editions in perfect condition. Well, this goes to show you that I'm just as cool as Noah. Okay? Just as cool. The first one is one you've seen on his channel. He's showed it on his channel many times. I'm very happy to find this for nothing. This is the Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of The Master and Margarita. One of the weirdest of what even I am willing to call the great Russian novels. This is the Pevyar and Volkonsky translation with the deckled edges and the French flaps. To just find this in the bottom of a box and grab it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Same thing with this next one. I'm not sure if this is technically a Penguin Classic Deluxe edition, but it is really nice. It has the deckled edges and the French flaps. It could be that this was a Penguin Classic Deluxe edition before Penguin Classic rebranded to actually call it that. But this is John Steinbeck. This is East of Eden. This paperback set of Steinbeck is, I think, the prettiest paperback set of his work that's ever been done. Newly commissioned cover artwork, so it's not endlessly reprinting the covers from the 1930s or whatever. With incredibly solid binding, just an amazingly good volume. I had East of Eden and Grapes of Wrath in big Viking hardcovers. Happy to have this in the the Penguin Classic, basically what is the Penguin Classic Deluxe edition, and then there's this thing. It's a Penguin Classic Deluxe edition. It's in pretty condition. Just call me Noah. Oh, this is Swan's Way by Marcel Proust. This is the Lydia Davis translation in a beautiful Penguin Classic Deluxe edition. Dragging us an inch closer to Prousttober, which is right around the corner, when I will be reading Remembrance of Things Past in the whole month of October, and I will be dragging you along with me. I have the Moncrief translation, but every time I've had the Lydia Davis translation of anything, I've had it and then got rid of it. So when I found that, Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of this, these were obviously all owned by the same person, probably who died. I grabbed this. I am going to want other translations to guide me. I'm going to want as much help as I can get. Then this next one, I did not know that this even existed. And yet, it's a book that I love. Riddle me that, Batman. This is edited by Peter Kemp, and this is the Oxford Dictionary of Literary Quotations. And this is a new edition. I had no idea there was a new edition. I dote over the old edition. I have the old edition. It's one of my only remaining reference works. It used to be that I had a whole shelf of reference works. The DK Visual Dictionary, the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, 1-volume pocket encyclopedias, 1-volume quick spelling guides, 1-volume Baker's Biographical Dictionary, a whole bunch of other things. Chicago Manual of Style. I had all of those things. The Princeton Guide to Poetry and Poetics. I don't have them anymore because they're all readily findable online. But this is not. And things like this are not. This is entirely a production of Peter Kemp. So, and it's wonderful. Just wonderful. It has a gigantic index by name, by keyword, by subject matter. The subject matters are all broken up here, and it's fantastic. It is a feast to read through. And I had no idea there was a new edition. I'm now dying of curiosity to know what's different about this and the one I have in the little book room. So when I saw it, I grabbed it. Same thing with this next one. I have this next one in a trade paperback. I did not think in all my living days that I would see a hardcover. But to find one in perfect condition for free, we've seen this before. I showed it to you in trade paperback. This is the Harvey, Mansfield, and Delba Winthrop translation of Democracy in America by Alexis de Tocqueville in a nice University of Chicago hardcover. Amazing. Just amazing. So I'll be able to retire my trade paperback. The only reason that I got a second trade paperback of this recently is because I destroyed my first trade paperback. I'm not as much going to have to worry about that with a hardcover. Plus, a hardcover will make it a lot easier to tip in articles and essays and whatnot. Encounter those regularly. De Tocqueville is one of those writers that people just can't leave alone. So I'll often find essays about him that don't deal with a particular book. They can go in here. So fantastic, just incredible, and I was so happy to find that. This next one is a children's book. I love it. It's written by Doreen Cronin with pictures by Betsy Lewin. I think if you delve a little too deeply into the subtext, it might be disturbing to you on a socialist level or whatever. But this is the classic click clack moo, cows that type. About Farmer Brown getting a typewritten note from cows in his shed who have found an old typewriter in the barn and learned how to use it. They send Farmer Brown a note saying that the barn is cold at night, we want electric blankets. And he refuses. And then the chickens send a note, the cows send a note on the chickens' behalf saying that the barn is also cold for the chickens and they want electric blankets too. And Farmer Brown gets out his own typewriter and sends them a note through the neutral party, the duck, saying, you owe me eggs and milk. You can't go on strike. I want my eggs and milk. I'm not giving you anything. And the cows send a counter offer to Farmer Brown saying, if we give you the typewriter, will you give us what we want? And he agrees to give them electric blankets. And I'm not the first person to see that as not a particularly happy moment in the story. The cows sacrifice their means of protest for basic concessions from Farmer Brown, and if he retracts them, they don't have any means of protest anymore. The book tries to save it at the end because the ducks confiscate the typewriter and insist that their pond is a little boring and they'd like a diving board. So you gather from that Farmer Brown is not done with treating his animals better, and there have been many sequels. I just love this book. Click Clack Moo, I think, is a classic kids book. I saw it. It was free, so I grabbed it. Then this last one is lovely thing. I guarantee you at the Brattle bookshop I would have paid $10 for it. I guarantee you I would have. And I would probably have paid $10 for it. I mentioned the other day, I showed you the new annotated Mrs. Dalloway. And Hannah at Hannah's Books recently mentioned on her video that I think she made today, she also mentioned that annotated version of Mrs. Dalloway. Beautiful thing, just lovely. And I found another annotated edition. This is also from Liverite. This is also from W.W. Norton. This is their annotated Christmas Carol. Big, beautiful thing, perfectly new, where you have, information, footnotes, and the text all running throughout the book. You've also got tons of illustrations. Of course, people have been illustrating Christmas Carol forever. And you've got Mr. and Mrs. Fezziwig on the cover dancing. Norton, their annotated versions are fantastic. The minute I saw this, I thought, well, aside from ebooks and collected short Dickens, you don't have A Christmas Carol, and you love it. It's one of the only Dickens stories that you love. So, why not? Why not get this beautiful annotated? Maybe I'll make a little shelf of annotated editions. I now have a handful. I have Mrs. Dalloway, I have this, and I have a couple of others. So who knows? One way or another, I wasn't about to leave it behind for free, even if I had to carry it. And I did. I had to lug all these things. So I'll be a while on my fainting couch. But that was my little, basically a reward to myself for keeping my nose to the grindstone for 50 hours. Just writing nonstop for 50 hours, so you get to the top of 1 o'clock, and you look at the clock and you say, all right, well, I want 2,100 words by 2 o'clock. I want to generate 2,100 new words by 2 o'clock. And if those 2,100 words come easily, then maybe when you get to the bottom of 2 o'clock, you say, all right, I want 4,100 words by 3 o'clock. And just never stop doing that. Long after my friend had fallen asleep in a nervous bundle, I was still doing that. So as a reward to myself, I went out and about, I saw an old friend, and I collected a huge number of books. So we have Annotated Christmas Carol. Such a find. So much fun. Then we have Click Clack Moo, cows learning to type. We have the Oxford Dictionary of Literary Quotations, a new edition, Who knows how this will differ from the one that I have marked up to a fairly well in the little book room. Will I mark up this one too? I don't doubt that I will. And then we have some Noah-type books. We have Swan's Way, the Lydia Davis translation. We have East of Eden in the lovely Penguin Classic tough trade paperback. We have the Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of The Master and Margarita. Then we have Away Offshore by Nathaniel Philbrick, his love letter to the history and nature of Nantucket. We have Apologize by Elizabeth Kelly. It's going to be a joy to reread. What else have we got here? And then we've got the 2 Bantam complete Sherlock Holmes. So not a bad mail haul. Or not mail haul. Oh, terribly sorry. Michoud. I also forgot this thing, which most people would consider the find of the day. This translation of Democracy in America in a hardcover. Fantastic. Not a bad book haul for just the bother of walking over there. So we shall see. We'll see what the rest of the week holds. But I am now, at least for the moment, free from durance vile. I am now free from panicked emails and panicked Voxer messages. I'm free, in other words, to bore the crap out of you. So 4 or 5 videos a day for the rest of the week. Very sorry, Book 2, but you knew you were getting into this when you signed up. I'll see you soon. Thank you, Book 2.